Sir, good morning, sir. Sir, the previous presentation, which was supposed to be made through online, sir, there is some technical issue, so we will take it later on. Uh, the next presentation, this is a joint presentation, madam. One executive secretary of South Indian Ocean Fisheries Agreement, Dr. Thierry Clot. He was supposed to present this presentation, but because of his sudden health issues, he is not able to make it. He has requested me to present on his behalf. So I am making this presentation, which is covering two broad RFMOs in our Indian Ocean tuna, in broad RFMOs, regional fisheries management organizations in our Indian Ocean region. First presentation is on COFA, madam. This is South Indian Ocean Fisheries Agreement. Next slide, next please. Next please. South Indian Ocean Fisheries Agreement, which was signed in 7th July 2006 by member countries, and it entered into force in June 2012, which is a very recently established RFMO for governing fish stocks, which I will explain which are the fish stocks covered. Its headquarters is in La Réunion, which is under the control of French, and 10 contracting parties are there in this agreement, as well as 2 cooperating non-contracting parties and 1 participating fishing entity is there. In the 10 contracting party, mainly the European Union, France, Seychelles, Maldives, and India has recently joined as a cooperating non-contracting party in this South Indian Ocean Agreement just last year. And we are hopeful that we will be soon becoming a party to COFA in subsequent months of this year or next year. The agreement objective is to ensure the long-term conservation and sustainable use of fishery resources in its area of competence, and to promote the sustainable development of fisheries in the area, taking into account the needs of developing states bordering the area that are contracting party to this agreement, and also in particular the least developing countries amongst them, including the small island developing nations. Next slide, please. The agreement basically covers the high seas. Usually the area of competence of the agreement of different RFMOs are varying depending upon the consent of the member countries. So COFA is covering only the high sea areas. It is not covering the EEZ areas or the territorial water areas of its member countries. And it includes the fishery resources which are under the mandate of agreement, like fish, mollusks, crustaceans, and other sedentary species within the area. The agreement excludes the sedentary species which are subject to the jurisdiction of coastal state, basically within their EEZ areas or territorial water areas, as per the UNCLOS Agreement 77-4 of 1982. And it is also not including any highly migratory species which are listed in Annex 1 of the 1982 Convention, basically the tuna and other species which are covered by the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission and other RFMOs. Next, please. So this is the map of area of competence of the South Indian Ocean Fisheries Agreement, COFA. We can see that it is covering from the downside of our Sri Lanka and bordering to Maldives, and in the continental areas of Africa up to Australia, and down below the area which is Antarctic region, and those small island countries which are shown in round shaped areas. These are the EEZ areas around those small island countries which are not part of this COFA agreement. Please go back. One of the important thing is that if we see the area in the Indian Ocean itself, a large area which is not coming under this green circle, uh, including the high sea area of Indian Ocean, are out of the purview of this agreement. And this is a major cause that some of the fishing activities which are in the high sea, green area is covering, madam, but those areas which are in blue, even in the high seas, we were having the pointer. Not working? Achha. हाँ. This blue area, RFMO for sedentary species, which are non-migratory species. There is no agreement as on date, but the agreement related to migratory species, highly migratory species, Indian Ocean Tuna Commission is there. Next, please. Basically, this is showing how the setup of the COFA is working. The agreement proposes that a meeting of parties, these are the member of the countries meeting once in a year, and this meeting is called as a meeting of parties. This is the topmost decision-making body of the organization. Its meeting happens once in a year. And second important body within this COFA agreement is scientific committee that provides the scientific advice to the meeting of parties. And based on the recommendations of the scientific committee, the meeting of party take decisions related to conservation and management of the fishery resources covered within the area and the species covered under this agreement. The compliance committee supervises the implementation of the various conservation and management measures which are covered or originated under this agreement, and it advises the meeting of parties to take necessary action on non-compliances or improvement in the compliance status. The Secretariat provides these secretarial services to the meeting of parties and conducting various meetings and also processing the records of the countries and stock status. Next, please. So these are the main targeted species and gears which are covered under this agreement. The deep water trawl fisheries are there, southern areas basically. And these are very high valued species basically, which are living in the bottom of the sea, very deep inside. And these are not migratory, so they are stagnant in one place. And those member countries who are having the scientific knowledge of particular patches where these species are located, they are exploiting those high valued resources. And they are basically using the deep water long line fishery in the southern areas where the ice area is there and temperature is sometimes in minus in many times of the year. The line fishery, as well as they are also using the pelagic long line fishery, the species Patagonian toothfish and other deep water sharks, the groupers, and those species which are pelagic but not covered under IOTC, they are also part of this agreement. Yeah, sedentary means, ma'am, not moving so far away in very nearby areas. Most of these fishing operations by the COFA member countries are commercial in nature, because to exploit such deep water resources, basically they are deploying the industrial fishing fleets and the technology of deep sea trawl fishing they are using for it, though some criticism is there that it is destroying the seabed if they are using such a type of deep water trawl fishing. But even then, with some conservation and CMMs and also taking precautionary approach, they are still practicing it. And they are basically targeting the toothfish with bottom long lines and orange rocky with bottom trawls, alfonsinos and other species with deep mid-water fishing trawls. They are, next please. If we see the resource, back. Yes, ma'am. Deep water gill nets are banned in this area, though they are using deep water trawls and deep water long lining, but they are not allowing the deep water gill nets in this area, ma'am. The resources and economies are shown in this slide that in around 15,000 tons of fishery resources have been caught in the COFA. The main target species constitutes only about 1/3 of the total, means the 2/3 of the total species that or the volume that they caught are their non-targeted species. Next, please. Sir, next is our Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, where India is a party, and it is, next please, in IOTC, India is a founder member. We are now trying to become a member in the COFA. Here we are the founder member since beginning. This is, IOTC was established in 1993 under Article 14 of the FAO Constitution, which is an intergovernmental organization mandated for fishing of tuna and tuna-related species. It's having its member called contracting parties as well as cooperating non-contracting parties. So both of them merged together called as CPCs. And objective of the commission is to ensure the sustainable development of fisheries of highly migrated tuna and tuna-like species in the area of competence. This is the area of competence of Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. The red line, dotted lines are showing the area. Basically, the FAO is having its quadrant type of square structures called FAO statistical areas, where this area 51 and 57 falls under the IOTC area of agreement. Next, please. And these are the species which are covered under IOTC. There are 15 type of billfishes, 73 species of shark, and around shearfish and tunas and other species which we are reporting to the statistics of our catch in our country as well as other member countries. Next, please. There are 30 parties of Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, including Australia, Bangladesh, China. We can see the mix of countries, means there are developing countries, there are developed countries, there are coastal countries which are having their natural boundaries in this area, as well as there are countries like EU and France and even China, those not having their borderline, but they are coming for distant areas for fishing in this area. Next, please. IOTC is also having its compliance committee and its standing committee on administration and finance, as well as scientific committee. Scientific committee having many subcommittees, also working groups, and standing committee having role for taking care of the administration and finance matters of running of the organization. And compliance committee, basically, it meets annually and assess the compliance status of various countries. Next, please. These are the working parties which are within the scientific committee, like working party on billfishes, working party on data collection and statistics methods, narrative tunas, temperate tunas, tropical tunas, ecosystem, and bycatch. Next, scientific committee meets once in a year, as well as those committees are also meeting once in a year, but they are mandated with different type of their task to be performed for assessment of billfishes resources, and one is for refining their data collection methods and statistical methods. Next, please. In the IOTC, there are observers as well, which are not the party. These observers include FAO, Korea, Russian Federation, UAE, and USA. There are 14 intergovernmental organizations and 31 non-NGOs, which are also observer. And they are entitled to participate in the meetings of the IOTC, though they are not part of the taking decision making, but they can give their advice during the meetings. Next, please. The flow of decision making in IOTC is that the IOTC working parties within the scientific committee assess the resources, their stocks, status, and they are making these assessments based on the data reported by the member countries. Based on the analysis made by different working parties, the scientific committee meets and it then establishes the stock status of different species in the IOTC area of competence. And the scientific committee then recommends to the Commission for taking decision for adopting various resolutions for conservation and management of those species. And the Commission takes the final decision to adopt the resolution, and that resolution which is adopted becomes the binding on all of its members until any member is object to that particular resolution. Next, please. There are various formats. So if we see the complex system of IOTC, we have to report throughout the years different type of data and statistics to the IOTC. Other countries are also reporting their data, and based on the data reported by the countries, those scientific committees are working and taking decisions for stock and taking decision on the resolutions. Next, please. Here we can see basically how they are declaring the status of the stock. In one side, it is shown as the fish biomass, spawning biomass available in particular area, and other side, it is fishing mortality. So based on the rate of fishing and based on the biomass available, they are grouping basically the status of stocks. Either it is in red means in danger condition where it is overfished or subject to overfishing, and in the green one when stock is in a comfortable and healthy condition, which is biomass is sufficient as well as fishing rate is lower. Next, please. The assessment made by the IOTC for some of its principal species are shown here. Like albacore, it is in green, means stock is in healthy condition, whereas the big eye tuna is in red. It is overfished and subject to overfishing. Similarly, we can see the status of skipjack tuna. It's in good condition so far. Yellowfin tuna is extremely in critical condition, which is overfished and subject to overfishing as per the IOTC scientific committee estimates. Next, please. The swordfish is okay, whereas the black marlin, there is no assessment of stock taken so far. Blue marlin is in red, striped marlin is in red, Indo-Pacific shellfish is in green. Next, please. The value of the species caught in the IOTC basically once in a year, if we can estimate, it is more than $4 billion. And the dock value or the amount paid to the fishers is around 1.5 billion. So the processed value after the processing and valuation and when it goes to the market is more than double than what is offered to the fishermen. And it's the area of IOTC is considered as one of the world's most valuable area for fisheries where so much of revenue is being generated. Next, please. One small analysis we made with our scientific analysis made by our Fisheries Survey of India. There are three main tropical species like yellowfin tuna, big eye tuna, and skipjack tuna. The catch of these three major stocks, if you see the tropical tunas, skipjack is making around 40%, whereas followed by yellowfin tuna is around 41%, and big eye is very less in an amount, around 14% in their catch over the period we have seen from 1950 up to 2019. And the trend is shown that the skipjack, we can see previously as well somewhere near around to the catch of yellowfin. Now the skipjack is crossing the landings when we compare to the yellowfin. Please, next, please. And interesting factor is that the comparison of 2014 we have made as a base to see the dynamics of fish catch of all these three tropical species. 9% is growth in terms of big eye tuna. In terms of all tropical tunas, if we club together, whereas growth of big eye tuna is around minus 3.2. Growth of skipjack is highest, it is around 18%, and growth of our yellowfin is around 4%, 4.6%. Next, please. And when we compare which type of gears they deploy, basically we can see the red, which is shown as skipjack. Porcine fishing is mostly taking away the most of the chunk of the skipjack, as well as the yellowfin tuna porcine. The next highest is also these basically gears are being deployed by the porciners of industrial type of categories used by distant water fishing nations, whereas the other gear categories are small scale in nature. Yeah, next please. The share of the catch, we have analyzed that there are two types of fleets, small scale or the fish like India and others catching with the help of gill netters, and those small fishery fleets are contributing, as per our analysis, less than what is being caught by the industrial tuna fleets. So though we are the main we are the main we can say stakeholders having our coastal lines and having so many number of fishermen engaged in fishing, but in terms of our share in catch of those resources is very less because of less capacity being deployed by us with the small scale fisheries. The industrial fleets are taking major chunk of the tropical tunas as shown in this slide. Next, please. The sector-wise, same in the previous what we showed, about 66% of total tropical tuna catch is by industrial fishery, 66%. Though their number are very less, the vessels are very big in size, their number is less, but their catch proportion is 66%. The small boats having so many in numbers, but their catch proportion is only around 33%. Next, please. It is in terms of number of industrial fleets. India, we don't have any industrial fleet, madam. We have all vessels less than 24 meter, and we're mostly fishing within our EEZ areas. Industrial fleets basically being deployed by the developed countries and distant water countries like EU, Japan, Taiwan, China, Korea. These countries are deploying the industrial fleets and more than 24 meter in the length, and basically they are fishing in the high sea as well as in the EEZ areas of some of the countries to whom they are having the agreements, internal agreements. Ma'am? We don't have any more than 24 meter vessels which we have registered with IOTC and fishing in the EEZ and high sea in such capacity what other countries are fishing. Yeah, these are most, if we see the length of those industrial vessels, it starts sometimes 40 meters, 50 meter, and even 100 meter vessels, which are huge factory type of vessels deployed throughout. Our policies were to promote the small scale fisheries, not to promote industrial scale of fishing so far. And also the interest of, because it is driven by the stakeholders also. And there is our fishermen mostly, they prefer a small scale, and government has not given any support for the industrial fleet to. Yeah, it's a shared stock. The stocks covered in the IOTC is highly migratory. It is moving in the EEZ as in the high seas. So even the industrial fleet which is fishing in the high seas, not in the EEZ of our country or other countries, but because of shared stocks, they are taking the chunk which is shared between all of us. Yeah, so we'll discuss during our panel discussion. We'll just quickly finish our presentations. These are the three species, ma'am. The yellowfin tuna is in green, shown the quantum of the contribution of total landings. Red is blig eye, which is smaller in quantity, and mostly the green skipjack tuna is mostly being caught by our fishery, small scale or being industrial vessels. Next, please. Next, please. This is the last slide. Basically, our concern is that industrial tuna fishery, because ma'am, we have seen in the previous slides the status of the stocks, including yellowfin tuna and other tuna-like species which are commercially very important. The IOTC is putting more pressure for conservation and putting a cap on catch of those species which are in red. And they are putting also the quota allocation proposal that in the future, there should be, for maintaining the sustainability, we need to adopt such measures to prevent the catch in a state and slowly to reduce also over a period so that stock can be regenerated. But while doing so, if we analyze that who is taking more catch, we feel that they should take more responsibility. So industrial tuna fishery, which are less in number but catching more, and their distribution of the economy goes basically to the industries, whereas the small scale fisheries, which are bigger in number, and they are catching less. So the economy is flowing to the artisanal fishery is very, very meager. The industrial fleet need to take more responsibility to reduce their catches to bring the stocks back into its sustainable status. And catch by artisanal fishery, which is decreased in recent years, is somehow we need to strengthen our fleet to take more benefits of the shared resources which is available to us. And there should be efforts by all the members of the IOTC, especially those with large industrial fleet, to reduce their catch and meet the management targets. And we can promote the livelihood aspects of our coastal communities through this collective decision making in the IOTC. Next, please. Next. So that's all I think from my side, sir. And now we will check if our next presentation is ready. Chair may take. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay.
If any questions will be there,
we can have it at the end of during the panel discussion. We can have the questions. Thank you for giving an overall view of IOTC and Southern Indian Ocean Commission. The next presentation will be the recorded one, no, Dr. Arthur Neelan's presentation. It's a recorded presentation. I think we can have the presentation from ISRO. Director is there.
Good morning, sir, Honorable Minister and secretaries and all the dear participants of this session. So at the outset, let me thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present in what way space is trying to help in the maritime domain. So I'll just cover a few of the aspects where we play a good role as far as ocean economy is concerned. So all of you may be wondering that what space people are doing in ocean. So, so as I said, so we have multiple roles and space is being used to improve the livelihood of the fishermen. Basically, that is our major aim, where we try to improve the economy. As I said, we try to contribute in a big way in ocean economy, or now it is more a blue economy, and followed by so how we can increase the fish yield of the fishermen, that is the first aim. Then the security and safety of our fishermen when they go out for fishing in deep sea. That is another aspect where we try to help in whatever way our space resources can play a major role into that. And the third aspect is, as I said, related to coastal surveillance and security aspects, where since satellites are already there, so they can be used for multiple purposes. So all these aspects, I will just try to cover that. Right. Titles. Yes. So once again, thank you for giving me this opportunity. So we'll try to cover, as I mentioned, very quickly because time is limited. So space-based services for maritime domain. So as I already elaborated, in what way we try to improve the livelihood or the life of the fishermen, then covering their safety aspects when they go out in deep sea, how we try to help them if they enter into any form of disaster or any other problem. So there we try to rope in our resources to help them to safely bring them back to the coast. And the third aspect is the security aspect of the country. So there also we play a major role. Next. So before I start the actual presentation, just to briefly tell, just 7 kilometers away from this place, we have our Space Application Center, which is one of the major center of ISRO. Everybody knows NASA, and nowadays people started knowing ISRO also, but nobody knows about Space Application Center. It is one of the major R&D center of ISRO, and it is different from other ISRO centers. Some of you might have seen other ISRO center, but our center is different because we do variety of activity. It is the only center in ISRO which has a multidisciplinary approach in various activities. So this is our main campus, what you're seeing, a dome-like structure with a big antenna. So that was a heritage antenna built by Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, long back in 1965-70 time frame. So Nippon Electric Company from Japan built this particular, it is India's first Earth station, communication Earth station, which was used to communicate with satellite when we started learning how to use a satellite for various applications. And now today, that was the only building in this whole area. You will be surprised to know that 50 years back, this was total forest area and only this building was there. And today, this place itself, we have our main campus. We have 50 buildings there. We have 2 more campuses. Right-hand side, you are seeing New Bhopal and Bhopal Technical Campus, just again, 8 kilometers away from this place. So I invite all of you who are interested, please do visit our center. We'll facilitate if you are interested to visit our center. And we have a very good exhibition also for even for your family members, students, children. So it is worth seeing. So I invite all of you who are interested in visiting SAC and to see our various varied activities. Next. And as I said, how SAC is different because we do what we call the brain or the heart of the satellite, which is the payload, which does the actual work. Because launch vehicle is just a vehicle which takes satellite to space. Then satellite is just a platform on which this particular instrumentation or payload, which we built here in Ahmedabad, that does the actual work for next 1, 3, 5, 7, up to 15 years. Our payloads work for 15 years once launched. And the end product of any space activity, that is the applications or upyog, that also is being done by my center here at Ahmedabad. And then we hand it over to the stakeholders, whether it is government departments of central government or various state governments. So I will cover some of the aspects. And as you can see, we are a multidisciplinary center. Our human resource itself reflects that we are more like an academic institute or a university rather than a government department. And we work with industries, SME, MSME, academia, research institute, and of course, space agencies. Next. So this was the beginning, as I mentioned, that big antenna. And when Dr. Sarabhai started, and incidentally, Sarabhai belonged to this place. He was from Ahmedabad. And rest, all of you know about how the development took place. Right, top right-hand side, you are seeing another gentleman, Professor Yashpal Sharma. He was our first director of Space Application Center. He was very famous for the turning point, if some of you would have seen on TV. He can explain any scientific problem in such a simple way that everyone will be able to appreciate the nuances of any scientific phenomena. So he was our first director. Next. And coming to our applications, how we try to help improve the life of the fishermen or do various applications. So we call it what we call NAVCOM application from space for maritime domain. That is a combination of, see nowadays, earlier for satellite communication used to communicate in deep sea. That is one aspect. But nowadays we use a combination of navigation as well as communication activities which we do from space together. They help in a big way. So like tracking of sub 20-meter boats. So this is what I was mentioning, that how we take care of the, when the fishermen go out for fishing in the deep sea. So they carry their mobile, but that mobiles are useless once they go into the deep sea. They leave the coastal region. What we have done is that we have utilized our NAVIC satellite, which is a navigation satellite equivalent to the international GPS satellites. So they transmit the various information, whether it is related to potential fishing zones where they can get the better fish yields, then if high tides or any such tides are going to be there, if cyclone is going to getting developed in the sea. So all this information every day at a particular time, say around 5 o'clock in the evening, we transmit all this information through our NAVIC satellite to the NAVIC receiver, which is mounted into the 20 sub 20 meter boats on which the fishermen go out for fishing. And that information will be through Bluetooth, it will be available on their mobile, and that too in their native language. So that is the advantage. So fishermen in Gujarat or Tamil Nadu or Kerala, they get all this information at a fixed time in their native language, and they are guided for going to a particular place for better fish yield. So all this information is really useful to them if we want them to return back in time during any cyclone formation and any such disaster getting developed. So that also is a very important application. So now we have this app developed in almost 14 regional languages, and they are being regularly used by, and many state government has also started distributing these particular NAVCOM terminals to the fishermen. Then we have the satellite-based AIS technology, which we have a AIS payload, which right now we have imported from Canada. But in future, India is going to develop, already we have started the development of this particular payload, so where the bigger ships, it is mandatory now to carry these AIS terminals. So they will be regularly tracked when they are in the ocean. Similarly, all the ship detection related to distress alert, when the fishermen go out for fishing, they carry this distress alert terminal. The one which I showed for the top one is a slightly what we call a costlier terminal, which will cost around 30 to 35,000. So instead of that, that is a very low cost terminal, which where government also gives subsidy. So it will cost you around less than 10,000 rupees, subsidized by government of India. So they carry this terminal, and earlier it was only a one-way transmission. So whenever they are in distress or they enter into any disaster, the terminal coming in touch with the ocean water and then immediately starts sending the distress signal. And that is picked up by the satellite, and the information is available at the Earth station, and then we alert the Coast Guard and Navy as well as other rescue agencies who go out to help the fishermen wherever they are. So the location is available through that. So that was the initial technology. Now we have added the two-way capability also, because they are, when fisherman is in danger in the sea, he doesn't know that he has transmitted the distress alert signal, but he doesn't know whether somebody has picked up this signal or not. So now we have provided a return channel with the acknowledgement signal. So we provide that your signal has been received, distress signal, and we transmit the acknowledgement signal so that light on the terminal starts blinking. So he is now rest assured. So that increases his confidence whenever he is entering into any such disaster or unfortunate situation. So that is the advantage of this new generation distress alert transmitter, which we have provided to all the fishermen in the country in various states. Next. This, all of you know, we have handed over this transponder to various fishermen, and now we have started the national rollout. So almost we are building 1 lakh terminals through our various private industries, and they will be distributed all across the country in due course of time within next 6 months. So our ISRO's public sector company, New Space India Limited, they have got this order of distributing these 1 lakh terminals to various fishermen in the country. And of course, Tamil Nadu government is very active in taking care of their fishermen. So similarly, Kerala government, then Gujarat government. So they've already, at the state level, they've started already working on pilot project where ISRO has contributed a lot. But now this is a national rollout which has been initiated through our New Space India Limited. So right hand side, you are seeing the terminal as well as the beacon, which is there. Next. Then satellite-based automatic identification system, as I mentioned, that bigger size ships with greater than 300 gross tons of capability, they always carry this satellite-based AIS terminal and using this SOTDMA technique. So regularly we track these particular ships, and the information related to that is available through IMO and other network. So right now we have a Canadian system, the ground-based processing, because it was a lot of involved Doppler processing. So that terminal is getting developed now indigenously in India also, and shortly we'll have a network of the satellite-based AIS terminals. Next. This is what I was showing. That you can. Video is not. Sorry. Then we have this satellite-based. Next. So at our ISRO ISTEC Center in Bangalore, they have the hub stations developed. So that is the local user terminals and the marine controls facilities are taken care of at the ISTEC terminals. So we have set up a control center there which support the COSPAR SARSAT related terminals, whether it is LEO, MEO and GEO terminals. So all the technical activity related to that happen at the ISTEC Center, where we have set up a dedicated control center to support all this coastal surveillance as well as the search and rescue related activity through a plethora of satellites. So we are participating in the international network also. Then we have our own GeoAlert network through our INSAT satellites. And now the trend is towards there are many navigation satellites in the world. So including GPS, Galileo, Beidou of China, as well as our own INSS, we will be going for a MEO-alert type of configuration. So that is the trend. Now we are shifting from LEO-alert to MEO-alert. So that will result into lesser number of satellites, but the capabilities will be similar to what you have with LEO-alert. Next. And fishermen in trouble anywhere in the world, its signals get picked up by one satellite or the other. So that is the advantage of that. Then we have this tsunami early warning system. Ministry of Earth Science has already installed many these tide gauges as well as other terminal which works on the pressure level. So at the bottom of the ocean surface, and both these signals are picked up by our terminal and then it is transmitted through INSAT satellite to a hub station. So tsunami early warning system is now well placed in the country. Next, with the association of ISRO as well as Ministry of Earth Science. So then we have this our mobile satellite services through GSAT-6 satellite, which is the only mobile satellite service provider satellite in our country. So through that we have developed this satellite mobile radio terminals, then a satellite phone, because many fishermen can carry the satellite phone. Of course, it is right now very costly, but slowly once with the, now we are developing a backup satellite for this GSAT-6, which is coming to the end of this life next year. So we have another GSAT-32, which is now being offered for various strategic as well as the commercial user services. So they will be supporting all these 4 type of terminals where we can even do video conferencing from ship with any part of the world. So that these are all the different terminals, ground systems which has been developed by Space Application Center here, and they will be available now on a commercial basis through various industries. Then this is communication navigation play a major role, as I mentioned, in supporting fishermen for their livelihood as well as for their safety aspect. But apart from that, we are trying to give them information related to potential fishing zone as well as whenever cyclone gets developed. So our scatometer radar satellites are already there in orbit. India has the only country which has this scatometer radar, which gives you the details related to cyclogenesis. So whenever cyclone gets generated in ocean, from that time itself we pick up the signals, and from that onwards we track this cyclone throughout the final landfall. So the total end-to-end system is in place through the use of our satellite as well as ground system. So this is another area where we are trying to help fishermen in a big way, and that indirectly benefits all the activities being carried out by fishermen. Next. So this is a dedicated OceanSat satellite, which is meant for oceanographic application, which we have launched. It is a series of satellites. OceanSat 1 was the initial one launched in 1999, followed by OceanSat 2 in 2009. And recently, last year, 2022 November, we have launched this OceanSat 3, which has the scatometer radar, which gives you the information related to cyclone and ocean winds That is one application. And then we have ocean color monitor, which gives you the areas where you can get the higher fish yields. So that information is processed and then, as I said, transmitted to fishermen in real time at a fixed time every day. So this is a operational system, and this is going to continue in future also. Next year, we are going to launch a backup satellite for this particular OceanSat 3. Next. And as far as the prediction of weather, because that is also a very important element for any fisherman. So weather and climate prediction. So we have a series of satellites right from 1980s. ISRO has been regularly providing these operational services. Of course, the operational agency is IMD, who takes the inputs from whatever products we generate, and then they come out with the nowcast or forecast for various applications. So that is another area where we are just, next month, we are going to launch our INSAT 3DS next generation meteorological satellite. And that will be followed by 4th generation satellite, where it will have advanced imaging and sounding capabilities. So we'll get advanced information, and there we are going to add a lightning mapper also. So that is one area where still we are missing some information. So lightning related application also, it will now will be within our domain. Next. So this, as I was mentioning, the cyclogenesis, right from the starting point of the cyclone to the end landfall. Till that we can have these two satellites which cover both INSAT 3D as well as OceanSat 3. Together, they give all the information related to cyclogenesis onward up to the final landfall of the cyclone. So that's why we see that nowadays we hardly have any casualties during cyclone. Next. So this is just to give a comparative. This in 70s when that cyclone Bola came, around 5 lakhs people died in Bangladesh and India. But today we hardly have any casualties. Even this 5 or 10 or 20 people also should not die. That is our endeavor. So we are trying to make the system in such a way that we take care, give advance information to all the stakeholders, and the people can be evacuated from coastal area. Many times, despite all the efforts from authorities, they don't vacate their area. So that is another area where we need to strengthen the ground agencies. But we are sure that all these related inputs are available now from space domain. Next. And this is what I was mentioning. In future, 4th generation satellite, ISRO has already started working on that. So as I said, next month we are going to launch our last of the INSAT 3 series of satellite, INSAT 3DS. And that will be followed by this new generation satellite where we have newer sensors added to that, which will add to our meteorological and oceanic observation capabilities. And it will also feel as input to the International Maritime Organization also, all the activities which they do. Next. And we are planning some advanced sensor also, like precipitation radar, then aerosol lidar. Lidar is going to be the new technologies, which will give you real-time information for a localized area. So Earth radiation budget, then lightning sensor, as I was mentioning. So these are some of the new areas where a lot of research has happened, and now we are going for operational systems in near future. Next. These are our two websites, so interested people can go through MOSDEC and Vedas, where we have land and other cartographic or urban applications, and MOSDEC is for meteorological and oceanographic applications. So all the related applications, starting with the oceanography to meteorology and climate change related aspects, they are all covered and displayed onto this website. And we also provide web services, so people can log in and do their analysis and come out with their own products. Next. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving an overview of ISRO's contribution towards this fisheries domain. Let me call the next speaker will be, sir. Sir, our Honorable Minister would like to have words.
Session Chair, Dr. George Ninan, Panel Discussion Moderator, Dr. Jay Bhaskaran, Dr. Nilesh Desaiji, Joint Secretary Srimati Nitu Prasad ji, and guests. Good morning to you all, delegates. So this session, Deep Sea Fishing and Technology, Resources and Economics. So it's a very enthusiasm session, and this session is taking up how we are going to lead the deep sea and how we will use the technology and how we will use of the resources as a sustainable manner, and simultaneously how we may get an economic activities in this. So today our government is encouraging the fishermen to use of the deep sea fishing, and the government support to them under the deep sea fishing vessel providing scheme also, and even it is in, whether it is in Blue Revolution scheme or whether it is in PMMSY, Prime Minister Matsya Sampada Yojana. Our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji inaugurated this scheme. So personally, I remember in Rameswaram, he handed over the deep sea fishing vessels to the fishermen. So the necessity of deep sea fishing is important, and it is going to emerge also, because in our Indian fishermen, they are traditional fishermen, and some fishermen, they are having the facilities to reach over the EZ and high sea also. So you can see now our Tuticorin fishermen, they are going up to Iran, Iraq, sometimes South Africa. So they are having, and today our Sanjay Pandey's presentation is related to the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. So the tuna fishes demands also is there the worldwide, and what technology we need improve, what I thought, in personally in my experience, what I thought, if you catch that tuna fish, you have to process immediately. So whether we have that facilities, we have to think over in that, because we are looking the international market and we are looking forward to reach out the globe. Already we are a leader in export in the aquaculture. So how the tuna's demand we may be fulfilled as an international standard. So it needs our vessels has to be inbuilt of the processing units for the tunas. So immediately you can process and you can store and you can export. Some of small countries also, they are having these facilities. But as well, as far as my knowledge, our fishermen don't have these facilities. So this also, this area, we are a little bit vacuum in this area. So I think we may explore this area, and our government is supporting to the traditional fishermen to convert them as deep sea fishing vessels. For that almost PMSY, we are giving subsidy also, 60% subsidy up to 60%. And loan facilities also is there for financial assistance from the banks. And the entrepreneurs need to, because in ground, I think the fishermen, some hesitance is there. Because the investment, the banks are providing, and the subsidies also, for even though they have to invest minimum 5 to 10 lakhs or 5 lakhs. So ground, how we can take up this deep sea fishing vessels to the traditional fishermen. And our ISRO, they had a detailed presentation related to the transponders. This transponder, we planned within year almost 1 lakh transponders to be installed in the fishing vessels. So that work also is full-fledgedly is taking place. And also, I need more startup companies and some researchers how the fuel cost also we can reduce, or green fuel how we can use in these fisherman boats. And our upgradation of fishing vessels also. So this little bit research and design and development to improve our fishing vessels also. I felt that. And in these words, I conclude my keynote. Thank you. The last 2 days we are here to discussing various subjects and various issues and exchanging the ideas, exchanging the knowledge. So it is in welcome. The first time we are having a global fisheries conference at 2023. So I congratulate all the participants here and the panel chair and moderator and panel discussion members and audience. So I thank you. I extend my heartful wishes, best wishes also. Thank you very much. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir, for your very much valuable inputs, especially in the area of value addition, building expertise, and also asking us to think about the green options for this domain. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable. We'll continue with the presentations. I think that next presentation would be by. So the next presentation would be the. This will be the first one, Dr. Arthur Neelan's presentation, Deep Sea Fishing Strategies for Economic Development in the Indian Ocean region.
My name is Arthur Neeland. I'm a fisheries consultant based near Portsmouth in the United Kingdom. And this presentation is me. Good morning. The title of my presentation is Deep Sea Fishing, Strategies for Economic Development in the Indian Ocean region. My name is Arthur Neeland. I'm a fisheries consultant based near Portsmouth in the United Kingdom. And this presentation is being made in collaboration with Dr. Krishnan, Director of the Bay of Bengal Programme Intergovernmental Organisation in Chennai. The presentation addresses four. What is deep sea fishing? Second, what is the economic potential involved? Third, what are the opportunities in the future? And finally, how to operationalize a strategic approach in this respect. But wait a minute. Haven't all these questions been debated and answered before? Is there anything new to say or discuss? How can dedicated fishery centres such as the BOBP IGO help out? Well, first, there is a large body of information about deep sea fishing, and the policy debate over many years is also well documented. However, the new National Fisheries Policy states a number of areas for immediate intervention, including promoting deep sea fishing and fishing in areas beyond national jurisdiction, tap underexploited resources through the use of appropriate and responsible technology and capacity building of stakeholders, especially the artisanal fishers, and encouraging investments to develop harvest and post-harvest facilities. Second, it is timely, therefore, that in recent years a series of projects involving the BOPP IGO have A, worked closely with fishery stakeholders, and B, undertaken targeted analysis of key issues. The findings can help to inform a fisheries development strategy and process for deep sea fishing in the future, while also helping to confirm the relationship with inshore fisheries. Firstly, what is deep sea fishing? Basic picture. Deep sea fishing is undertaken beyond the limit of territorial waters, 12 nautical miles from shore, and within the exclusive economic zone, 200 nautical miles from shore, which comes under national jurisdiction of the coastal state, such as India. Deep sea fishing can also take place on the high seas beyond 200 nautical miles, particularly for tuna. But there is no national jurisdiction, and where fisheries management is the responsibility of regional fisheries management organisations, in this case the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, which India is a member. But in fact, the majority of marine fishing activity for India and many other Indian Ocean regional countries is focused on inshore and territorial waters. And many of these fisheries show signs of both economic and biological overexploitation. associated with a reduction of benefits for the fishers involved and for sustainable development in general. So what is the economic potential for deep sea fishing? Value proposition, in other words. To start, let's consider India's EEZ and tuna, based on the work of Das et al. 2017. The potential harvest of two main species, in this case yellowfin and skipjack, is 179,000 tonnes, but the actual harvest is only about 12% of this potential, at just over 25,000 tonnes per year. The potential market value is over $200 million. But once again, the actual market value is $33 million. Once again, about 12%. Looking at the broader Indian Ocean, tuna fisheries, based on a view which I undertook a few years ago, the maximum sustainable yield has been estimated for yellowfin and skipjack total at over 1 million tonnes per year. The actual harvest of yellowfin and skipjack is currently annually about 8.8 million tonnes. Potential market value of these tunas is 1.74 billion. But the actual market value being realised is $1.51 billion. So clearly the economic value of Indian Ocean tuna as a whole is very large. Of course, India shares this resource with many countries in the Indian Ocean region. But understanding how this global industry works to generate this value requires a lot of attention to detail. It is very complicated to understand. What are the opportunities and challenges for deep sea fishing? Opportunities include, first, investment from public and private sector sources in deep sea fishing could help to generate economic, social and environmental benefits for society, basis for sustainable development, and most tangibly as incomes and employment in fishing and the value chain activities. Second, learning from current deep sea fishing operations, such as the Tour deepwater fishing fleet of India's west coast, could be important for future development plans. Third, utilising India's strong institutional and organisational base with expertise in fishery science and management, fish processing and infrastructure, and many other areas, could also underpin future fisheries development plans. Looking at these opportunities together, the overall aim would be to create an enabling environment to encourage stakeholder participation and investment, technology and expertise transfer, to develop specific fisheries and the associated onshore value chains, and most importantly, to build an effective fisheries management system as the essential foundation of good governance. Challenges here include, first, a lack of familiarity and expertise concerning deep sea fishing. For example, the location of new fishing grounds, the use of fishing techniques such as long lines, and the ability to operate long sea trips, requiring fishermen to stay many weeks or even months away from their home, their base and their home. With appropriate investment, business and operational support, of course, plus onshore facilities and value chain operations to match the fisheries. Second, there is also uncertainty concerning market demand, both domestically, where consumers may be unfamiliar with some fish types and products, and internationally, where quality standards, including environmental standards, may be prohibitive in the short term. In addition, the future emergence of new international conventions and rules are likely to affect deep sea fishing. For example, under UNCLOS, the Marine Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction implementation plans may require new laws which will limit access to some fishing grounds. And in the case of the WTO subsidies framework, this may constrain government financial support for fishing operations. How to operationalise a strategic approach for deep sea fishing? At the fishery level, BOBP IGO has learned 3 entry points are important. First, to build a partnership between interested stakeholders, fishers, government, and others, such as value chain actors and the business community, service providers and civil society organisations, and of course consumers. Second, to work out and agree a process for fisheries development, with an emphasis on fisheries management and value chain operations, by establishing, for example, a future vision and defined outcomes for deep sea fishing to 2040, and by also clarifying how deep sea fishing will relate to existing inshore fisheries and value chains. The first set of project lessons, with reference to points 1 and 2 here, come from the FIMSA project. The BOBP IGO facilitated a results sharing phase. Stakeholder analysis and visioning as a basis for future partnership were undertaken in 13 coastal states of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. For your information, references to these results, links are provided below. Third, to underpin this partnership and process as outlined above, with learning from both national and international best practice and experiences, and using a strong multidisciplinary evidence base. The second set of project lessons come from the Oceans project. The BOP IGO recently facilitated a series of 4 in-depth business cases and feasibility studies on tuna fisheries development, focused on first tuna processing, secondly co-management, thirdly monitoring, control and surveillance, and fourthly skills and capacity building. The importance of these multiple and interlocking interventions, once again, I provide some references and links to this work below for your information. In summary, therefore, deep sea fishing has recognised potential to generate significant economic value, which could help secure fisher livelihoods and contribute to sustainable development. However, successful development and operation of the fisheries concerned depend upon a carefully designed and implemented process to address both the opportunities and challenges. Many of the features and requirements of deep sea fishing are very different. Those encountered are more familiar inshore fisheries, and the interrelationship between these needs to be examined carefully. Most importantly, both subsectors, deep sea fishing and inshore fishing, should be appreciated for the roles they can fulfill in the economy and in society, and both should be enabled accordingly. There is much to be gained from a complementary marriage of these two sides, while avoiding a zero-sum outcome is essential. An essential part of this future work will be to build effective partnerships of interested and committed stakeholders at national level, within a setting of good governance. While international cooperation and support, especially at regional level, also offers important opportunities for successful outcomes concerning fisheries and sustainable development. I've provided a series of maps and photographs below to illustrate this covered. First of all, here are the uncrossed sea areas and the large EEZ of India. On the left-hand side, we can see the diagram of the territorial sea, exclusive economic zone, the high seas as it is delimited. Next, India's modern fishing fleet is made up of two main categories. First, small motorized boats operate on shore, mainly for day-long trips. And along the east coast, oil sardines, the common netted catch. Second, mechanized trawlers, multi-gear vessels using nets and long lines operate for daily or multi-day trips inshore, and also in deep water at the present time, multi-week or even multi-month trips. Here we have some trawlers on the left-hand side getting ready for the start of the fishing season, and on the right-hand side, some vessels from the Tutu fleet in Kenikumari that operate long lines and other netting operations. Deepwater fishing by highly experienced fishing enterprises can be very productive. Landings of both demersal and tuna species for the domestic market, and some foreign markets are shown in these photos. You can see the fish on the floor of the market and the ice being placed on the top. On the high seas, large-scale fishing vessels catch major tuna species. Yellowfin, skipjack, big eye for the international tuna trade. Of course, there are many nations participating in this fishery in the Indian Ocean. Here we have Victoria Harbour in the Seychelles, a major hub, port with canneries for tuna. And on the right-hand side, here we have a delicious dish of fresh tuna. But interestingly, this is a high-quality yellowfin-based dish produced recently by the Orifish company in Puducherry, assisted by the Raintree Hotel. This product is
Good morning, everyone. My name.
Okay, thank you. We'll go for the next presentation by Dr. Amparo. That's also recorded. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amparo Perez. I'm Fishery Officer at the Fisheries and Aquaculture Division of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the Nations, and I would like on the voluntary guidelines on the marking of fishing gear. So in my presentation, I will briefly introduce the issue of abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear, how this policy instrument can help to address the problem, other relevant publications that we have produced at FAO, and also how this particular issue is being discussed beyond the FAO Committee on Fisheries. So abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear can be caused by many different reasons. It can be due to bad weather, gear conflicts, snagging on living and inert seabed structures, operator errors, and it can be also linked to illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing activities. And it has many harmful impacts for the environment, but also for the fisheries sector itself. It can have impacts on the ecosystem and wildlife due to the loss of potential catches in marine wildlife in general. It has also a direct cost to the fishing sector, and it can also produce navigation and safety hazards through the snagging of nets, for example, in propellers. And finally, can also contribute to marine plastic litter due to the composition of the materials of the current fishing gears. And so these guidelines were prepared by FAO, and the text was agreed with the international experts from all around the world in an expert consultation that was held in 2016, and with FAO member states through a technical consultation in 2018. And in the same year, these guidelines were endorsed by the FAO Committee on Fisheries as an important tool to support responsible fishing gear ownership and management, prevent and reduce abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear and its impacts. It can also aid the detection of illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing activities. But this is only true when gear marking systems are integrated into broader fisheries management frameworks. So this document provides guidance on how to manage fishing gears in a responsible way through the whole life cycle, from the design, production, and trade until the end of its useful life. However, these guidelines focus on the usage stage of the life cycle of the fishing gear, including how to prevent gear loss, how to report abandoned, lost, and discarded fishing gear, and how to mitigate the impact through fishing gear modifications and implementing mechanisms to remove abandoned, lost, and existing abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear, especially from sensitive and productive areas. And these guidelines also recognize the special requirements for developing states and small-scale fisheries, and the need for international cooperation to address this cross-sectoral and transboundary issue. In order to assist our members and regional fisheries bodies to operationalize these guidelines, FAO has published also these three documents: a framework for conducting risk assessment for a system on the marking of fishing gear, which further develops on the risk assessment guidelines that is provided as an annex of the same guidelines, that helps to determine the need and requirements for developing systems for the marking of fishing gear. And this is a global framework, so it's very general principles that was developed with the help of experience gained through a pilot project that was conducted in Grenada. We have also produced a manual for marking of fishing gear that provides an overview of existing techniques to mark fishing gear in order to identify the owner or the operator. And this circular on the operationalization of the guidelines in the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission area of competence. And this circular is a result of a cooperation between our team and the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission to develop guidelines for the implementation of gear marking systems in a regional fisheries body. And we hope that this publication can provide a model and inspiration for other regional fisheries bodies to follow. Other relevant publications that we have developed under the framework of the IMO and FAO Global Partnerships project are the ones that you can see in this slide. The first one focuses on the legal aspects of abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear. So how can this issue be addressed from a legal perspective? We have another one focusing on reporting and retrieval of lost fishing gear, a more general report on good practices to prevent and reduce marine plastic litter from fishing activities. And the last one that was published only last week on fishing gear recycling practices and technologies. And as part of this project, we have also developed other other knowledge products in collaboration with the International Maritime Organization that focuses more on addressing the marine plastic litter issue from both sectors, the maritime and the shipping sectors, and includes guidance on how to develop country assessments and national action plans to address marine plastic litter from both sectors, how to develop port waste management plans and techno-economic feasibility studies to establish port reception facilities for plastic waste. And we are also developing another guidance document on how to incorporate into national legal and policy frameworks the 3 existing instruments to prevent and reduce marine plastic litter from ships, including from fishing vessels, which includes the voluntary guidelines on the marking of fishing gear, which are specific to abandoned, lost, and other waste discarded fishing gear, but also MARPOL, the Annex 5 of the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, also known as MARPOL, which provides regulation for the prevention of pollution by garbage from ships, from all types of ships, and the London Convention, London Protocol, that regulates dumping of waste at sea. To finalize my presentation, I would like to inform participants of this conference on the ongoing international fora where the issue of abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear and potential solutions are being discussed. The first one is the Maritime Environment Protection Committee of the International Maritime Organization that agreed in 2022 that a goal-based requirement for the mandatory marking of the fishing gear should be developed under MARPOL Annex 5 and instructed the Subcommittee on Pollution Prevention and Response to develop such a draft amendments to MARPOL Annex 5 and associated guidelines accordingly. And the committee is also working on enhancing the reporting requirements for lost fishing gear. The other international space where this issue is being discussed are the ongoing negotiations of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee to develop an internationally legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. And only last week, the 3rd session of the committee was held in Nairobi, Kenya, where a first zero draft was discussed. And as part of this draft, under the provision of waste management, there is a specific requirement for prevention and reduction of abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear, as well as safe disposal of end-of-life fishing gear. And many delegates, many negotiators agreed that this, in order to effectively address this issue, a provision for specific to fishing gear should be also included in other provisions of the agreements.
So thank you. That finishes our lead presentations. We had 4 presentations. Now comes the most important part of this session, that's the panel discussion. We have panelists, expert members from different organizations. So I would like to invite them to the dais. Dr. Manal Sakaria, Deep Sea Consultant, NIOT Chennai. Dr. Sakaria. Dr. Sakaria is there? Yeah. Dr. P.K. Srivastava, Scientist, Ministry of Health Sciences. Please come. Mr. Anthony Saver, Fishery Development Commissioner, Government of India. Dr. Sinoj, Principal Scientist, CMFRI. Dr. Hashim, Scientist, CMLRA. Now, moderator Dr. Jayabhaskaran will give a brief overview about the already done presentation. Then we will go with the panel discussions. We already have, because deep sea fishing, we outlined the opportunities and challenges in deep sea fishing and the way forward and what course of action to be taken. So I request the panelists, from your expertise, from your domain, from your domain expertise, you can give your valuable points and suggestions on these various aspects. And that could be 2-3 points, and that can be very brief. Then we'll have a detailed discussion. Thank you very much. Over to Dr. Jayabhaskaran.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to all. Then we got a 5 presentation. The first presentation was about Southern Indian Ocean Fisheries Agreement and Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. Dr. Sanjay Pandey made the brief presentation about it. He talked about Southern Indian Ocean, SIFA, when it was established, and briefed about SIFA, what are 10 working contracting party. India is the one of the cooperating non-contracting party. And what are the objectives of the agreement? That agreement area, it is particularly high seas, and some other species also, like fish, apart from fishes, mollusks and crustaceans also comes under this agreement. Then he talked about that agreement setup, how these meeting of parties, how the scientific committee formed, and complaints committee and secretariat. And main targeted fisheries in the SIFA area is deep water trawl fisheries, especially Alfonsa and orange roughy. And he also talked about that long line fishes, especially these Antarctic toothfish, the Patagonian toothfish, and deep water shark, all about that fisheries. Then what are all the deep sea technology is operated in that area, especially the deep water kill nets are banned in that SIFA area. Then recent years, nearly 15,000 fishery resources are caught in the SIFA area. And he also briefed about the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. It was established in 1993. What are all the species covered under the IOTC? Mostly tuna and billfishes and other fishes. And how these subsidiary bodies are working, and complaints committee, and he talked about standing committee and how the working parties, and how what are all the IOTC data reporting requirements, color codes, status of stocks, and value of Indian Ocean yellowfin tuna, more than $4 billion worth that yellowfin tuna, and IOTC tropical tuna catch, how these FSI reported everything, and trends in catch from 2004, what are all the major gears used, and the share of the total IOTC share of the catch is 28% comes from artisanal fleet, and only 72% from industrial area. And sector-wise landing, everything he talked. The next presenter is Dr. Nilesh M. Desai from, he is a ISRO director, and he talked about Space Application Center, their vision, and NAVCOM application, how the tracking that below sub 20-meter boats, that how the technology they are tracking, and national MSS network for vessel communication. And he talked about the transponders, where there are about 1 lakh terminal will be handed over to fishermen, and satellite-based AI terminal. And he also talked about tsunami early warning system and mobile satellite services in India. And he talked about OceanSat 3 satellites, how that tropical cyclone prediction, everything. And he also briefed about future satellite requirements, and he has provided 2 websites you can visit. Honorable Minister Dr. L. Murugan also talked about that deep sea fishing vessels, and we got to get a lot of startup companies, and he mainly thrust upon green fuel can be used for fuel consumption of boats, and we have to improve the fishing vessel. Then next speaker is Dr. Arthur Neeland. He talked about deep sea fishing strategies for economic development in Indian Ocean. He talked about 4 objectives. What is the deep sea fishing potential, and what are the economic potential of deep sea? What are the opportunities and challenges in deep sea fishing, and how to operationalize the strategic approach in deep sea fishes? He talked about Indian Ocean tuna and Indian Ocean tuna fisheries, and deep sea has potential to generate economic value, and he referred some papers, Das et al. 2000. Then last speaker was Dr. Ambara. She talked about voluntary guidelines on marking of fishing gear, how these abandoned and lost, otherwise discarded fishing net, how it causes, what are all the impacts, and while she talked about voluntary guidelines prepared by FAO and gear marking system, how to manage fishing gear, and she also talked about IMO Glow Liter project publications and FAO publication and marble guidelines, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jayabhaskar. And now I would come to the point of panel discussion. So we should have some specific issues regarding this discussion. What I'm asking about, it has been outlined about the prospects of deep sea fishing, the areas wherein basically we have 2 areas wherein we have our deep sea fishing area and we have the high sea area. So our point of discussion be, first of all, are we equipped for this? Are we equipped to harvest these resources? If we are if you are equipped to harvest these resources, then what is the next point in the value chain? Are we able to utilize the resources? And finally, do we have an operating mechanism? And what are the necessary policy guidelines? If the policy is already there, is it adequate? Or we need some rethinking on the policy aspects of deep sea fishing, utilization, value chain, all these aspects have to be covered. So from your respective domains, you can give your valuable suggestions. Please be brief and then we'll have a detailed discussion. So let me first ask Anthony Xavier, sir, Fishery Development Commissioner, because he represents the Ministry and Government of India. So please, you can have your... you go ahead, sir. I think that you should be the first one, then we can come. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. And good morning, all the participants. Keen interest in learning about or hearing about deep sea fishing. I would like to be brief, but this is a subject which is very deep. So being brief is very difficult. As Neil was suggesting in his presentation, it is deep sea fishing is a subjective thing for a craft which is not motorized. For him, the deep sea is 10 nautical miles or 5 nautical miles from the line. For a vessel which is motorized, for him, the deep sea is 50 nautical miles or 55 nautical miles. And for a vessel which is mechanized, for him, probably we are talking about something around 200 nautical miles. But what we really discuss here is something different. Contextually, we are talking about resources that are not harvested, which are available in the further parts of the ocean, probably beyond the ABNJ, beyond the area of national jurisdiction, the areas beyond national jurisdiction. And the major, whether I should answer also to question that whether are we equipped, whether is there any fishing happening? Yes, there is substantial amount of fishing happening, but in a very, very a very, very primitive form of operations. Whether do we have the capacity or endurance to do this fishing? Yes, there are fishermen or a packet of fishermen or a group of fishermen from different parts of the country, including Gujarat, including Tamil Nadu. They are having the endurance to do this multi-day fishing. Probably they have the endurance to go into the sea, stay at sea, do the fishing for more than 15 days or 20 days and come back. So on the skill side, I strongly feel that we have the capacity. Then where is the problem? The problem is that the catch which you catch at sea on day 1 and you bring to the shore on the day 15 or day 30. And the simple form of ice preservation, which is followed in the day-to-day fishing, is the major obstacle or a major bottleneck in this entire process. What the other nations do, what those vessels, those big tuna vessels, or what they are doing. These vessels, they do this, the preservation through a refrigeration or a freezing process on board, or at least preserve them in a refrigerated storage. In India, so far, to the best of my knowledge, probably the panelists can correct me, or anybody from the audience side can also correct me. I think Jaj Nayan sir is also there. He can correct me also. There is not even a single vessel with a refrigerated storage in India. And there were vessels made by CSL, Cochin Shipyard, for Tamil Nadu, but they were not refrigerated vessels. They had a refrigerated RSW system. So primarily what I'm trying to tell, to take this segment, particular segment, from today's level of 1 lakh tons, which is landed at 60 to 80 rupees per kilo, to the level of 100 rupees or 200 rupees, 250 rupees per kilo range. What I foresee is that a system of reefer storage in the vessel itself, with an adequate awareness to those fishermen who are having the potential and capacity to do this, or a mother vessel or a factory vessel, which will collect these catches directly from these vessels, these baby vessels, process them on board and bring them back. This value realization part, if it is adequately addressed and this value chain is effectively implemented, India with 8,000 kilometers of coastline and so much vast EEZ and ABNJ, probably we will be the leader. And this is my first take. I would love to hear the others, and then I would like to respond also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Let me have Dr. Srivasta's opinion on this.
Thank you, Chair. As we all are aware here, that when we talk about fisheries, whatever is our catch today, 90% of the catch is from waters which are around 50 meters water depth, and balance may be about 100 meters. So if we are looking at deep sea fisheries, we need to go further deep into the areas, which is, as Xavier sir has brought out, we do have the capacity or the technical skill, but we do not have adequate vessels and adequately equipped vessels, I would say, technologically, which can do this work. Apart from that, what I initial remarks would be uh, that we also need to look at a species variation or differentiation for deep sea fisheries. We are only looking at tuna and some of those toothfishes, but there are species which are specifically maybe deep sea shrimps are there, or myctophids are there, and you have some other species which are lobsters, deep sea lobsters, which are also very lucrative, which need to be also brought into the system and made aware. And while we are talking about awareness, sometimes I think we have not been able to sensitize the population about the taste and texture and other issues of deep sea fisheries. So that is also one of the hindrances where the backward and forward linkages have not happened. This could also facilitate to promote. And additional benefits which can accrue from deep sea fisheries could be from the pharmaceutical or the fashion industry, where the byproducts could be very useful. So if we are able to integrate these 2-3 areas, definitely deep sea fisheries, apart from the technology intervention, would also be very economical for additional economic benefits for the fishermen. And coming to science resource mapping, which is again an area where we are quite lacking. I feel we have in our ministry the only deep sea fisheries research vessel, Sagar Sampada, which is only doing some spot species analysis or spatial analysis. But with FSI and our vessels, we can together do a more detailed spatial and temporal mapping of the resources, which is still not so much available in the deep sea. I think these are my opening remarks, and then we'll discuss further.
Let's say we have 11. Already mapped that to 500. 500 meters. Not only that, length weight frequencies and all reproductive biology, when spawning is happening, all those things we have already mapped, and data are available from 1989 onwards. Apart from that, we have also mapped that resources in the tuna fishes. Entire EE set we have been doing. Every year, FSC is the nodal agency, we are submitting the data to IOTC. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think that both of the panelists have outlined some of the issues or rather opportunities, like about we have the capacity, we have the facility, we have the infrastructure, but what about the value chain, completing the value chain? Do we have an appropriate value chain for the resources, what we are going to harvest from here? For example, you are told about the myctophids. We have done a project on, in fact, 2 times we have done the project on myctophids actually. So we projected that there's a lot of myctophid resource in our sea, and we got quite good number of, quite good quantity of myctophid, but unfortunately we are not able to utilize it fully. Again, the acceptance, consumer acceptance, all these issues may come. But again, it has to, because myctophid forms an important part in the value chain, we can also find useful products out of myctophid. And unless and until that value chain is completed, our entire deep sea effort will be in base, because ultimately it has to realize a value in the market. Like Dr. Anthony Felix was telling that you catch a in tuna, even refrigeration will not be an ideal solution. We have to think about the sashimi grade, okay, wherein all the Western countries are doing sashimi grade tuna, wherein that is the most important price commodity in the international market. So we have to think on these lines, whether are we equipped. It is not like that we already have the technical knowledge, but how to equip our fishermen and fisheries domain, that's the most important. Now we'll hear from Dr. Sinoj regarding the policy issues in deep sea fishing sector.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm deeply honored to be here today. So now we will, I'll just give a brief overview of the policies that we had over the last 4 decades on deep sea fishing. The first policy that was in place was Shipping Development Fund Committee, which was initiated in the year 1960. And as per this policy, it was actually extending soft loans for deep sea fishing sector. However, this had to be abolished in 1987 because of little success. Subsequently, in 1981, we had the charter fishing policy. This policy was through which this policy it was to permit the acquisition and operation of fishing vessels, foreign fishing vessels, to catalyze technology transfer and to impart training. So these were the focus areas of the charter fishing policy. But this policy also could not do much in terms of realization of transfer of technology and indigenous capacity building. Subsequently, we had the new deep sea fishing policy, which was in place in 1991. And this policy, in fact, encouraged joint ventures with foreign companies and long-term leasing of fishing vessels from abroad. So these were the cornerstones of this new deep sea fishing policy. However, this was also not very successful, and it was criticized for lack of transparency on the part of the joint venture companies and large foreign vessels which were introduced at that time. And it was also criticized for alleged intrusion of offshore vessels to inshore waters. So afterwards, we had the Sudarshan Committee in 1994, and the committee actually stressed it was actually to see to what extent the policies were successful and what were the mandatory guidelines to be followed in the deep sea fishing sector. And this committee, in fact, proposed mandatory catch reporting system, vessel tracking system, development of indigenous capacity, and so on. And in 1995, we had the Murari Committee. This committee, in fact, because of limited success of all the previous policies, this committee recommended cancellation of all the licenses and permits issued for fishing by joint ventures, charter vessels, lease vessels, test fishing vessels, and so on. So in 1995, after this committee gave the detailed recommendations, the government accepted all the 21 recommendations and rescinded the new deep sea fishing policy. Subsequently, we had the LOP scheme. All of you know about the letter of permit scheme, which was introduced in the year 2000, through which a total of 11 Indian companies imported 32 offshore or deep sea fishing vessels. And LOP scheme was also widely criticized for various reasons because in a sense, none of these policies were actually contributing towards developing the indigenous capacity and empowering the local fishers. Because we know that most of our deep sea fishing vessels are artisanal in nature. We don't have any large fishing vessels or industrial fishing vessels. Most of the vessels are less than 24 meters, or on an average, it is 17 to 22 meter vessels with limited capacity. The maximum capacity that we have is just maximum 20 tons per trip. So afterwards, we had the Meena Kumari Committee in 2014, and this committee suggested considering acquisition of foreign vessels, joint ventures, leasing, and employing foreign crew for developing the deep sea sector. However, after this committee submitted its recommendation, there were widespread agitations among the fishing community because they were not happy about introducing foreign vessels for deep sea fishing and all. So in 2017, through the National Policy on Marine Fisheries, the LOP scheme was rescinded. So that's where we stand now. As a latest measure towards strengthening the deep sea fishing sector, we just had the blue revolution scheme, through which we have tried to introduce modern fishing vessels, and also we have a deep sea fishing guidelines, which is not yet implemented fully, but which is ready to be implemented with all the detailed guidelines. The ministry is ready with the guidelines, so it is only how to roll it out. So now I'll not go into the details of economics. Maybe in subsequent discussion, I can add the value chain and other economic details of deep sea fishing.
Thank you, Dr. Sinoj, giving an overview about the Government of India policy. And now we are going to have a draft national policy also, wherein this will be adequately addressed, I think. Now, Dr. Hisham, I want you to elaborate on, because we have done a lot of projects on deep sea, okay, including my institute also was involved in that, especially the microfit projects. So what the lessons we learned, and or in fact, where we should go ahead, okay, because we projected a lot of scope for microfits, then again, deep sea oceanic squids. So our seas, we predicted that, again, the resource mapping side I'm telling, we have a lot of scope for utilization of oceanic squid, again, microfit. And we have done a couple of projects on this aspect. So my institutes and ICR institutes also were involved. So what's the lessons we learned, and from here, where we should take to the next level? Can you give just in brief time? Because we are already overrunning the time, but just...
Very good morning to all. And thank you, Chair, for giving this opportunity. Deep sea is a very large term we are using as, before we are venturing to deep sea. Actually, what we should know and how to tap these resources. Basically, it's, when we talk about deep sea, actually there are deep sea descent water resources, deep sea demersal resources, and deep sea mesopelagic resources. There are three major domains. And to approach these three domains, actually we should have a different strategies. Like when we talk about deep sea descent water, highly migratory resources like tunas and billfishes, and this has got, in general, this has got its interoceanic migration, and we are supposed to tap what, when we are getting a ship of opportunity to tap these resources sustainably. Whereas when we talk about deep sea demersal resources, we should be very careful, and because it's got a high longevity, low fecundity, and there are collapsing of these resources like orange roughy fishery, which has collapsed in New Zealand, which there was no proper management system, and it was one of the high value fishery, but it is because this, the orange roughy has got a lifespan of around more than 60 years. So and of course we are right now we are tapping these resources, that is we are targeting towards deep sea shrimps, which has got a high export value, but whereas 80% of deep sea shrimp trawlers are bringing 80% of catch from deep sea shrimp trawlers is bycatch, which is having the same issue of high value, the high longevity and low fecundity. Whereas considering the mesopelagic resources, which is, of course, there was an overestimation of 100 million ton in the Arabian Sea, but even as per our MSY calculation, last MSY calculation, we have 5.31 31 million tons of conventional resource and 1.83 billion ton of non-conventional resource. That is our potential. And we are, of course, we are exploiting only an average of 3.1 million tons. That is from the conventional resources. And that, whereas we got the mesopelagic resource, especially microfit, it has got a longevity of around 1 to 2 years. And the resource is plenty. And again, actually, we don't have an opportunity to tap the resources and you can utilize these resources. We don't have a streamlined strategy, and we don't have the technology to utilize these resources. So basically, when we are venturing to the deep sea to tap the deep sea resources, we should have a clear guideline on these three main domains, and we should have a clear opportunity and how we are going to utilize these resources. And from the Sampada point of view, actually we have made the resource mapping since 1992 onwards on deep sea demersal resources. Of course, there is only single vessel in this country which can able to trawl up to more than 1,000-meter depth. And you can imagine 8,129 kilometers coastline, 2.92 billion square kilometer of EEZ, one single vessel, how much we can tap. And how much we can, at least 1% of the area should be surveyed, but it's not practically possible with a single vessel. So, of course, our ministry is we are planning to have introduce more vessels, but hopefully, that it has take its own time. And of course, we have a very good resource available, but the management and the strategy has to be implemented.
Thank you, Dr. Hisham. Actually, it's not the question of resources, but again, one of the presentations, it is to build partnership and build up an operating mechanism to address the entire value chain. That is very important. It is just standalone efforts will not do, because somebody is predicting about the resources. Somebody is telling that there is a scope for value addition. Nothing will work like that. We should have a mechanism, and we should give a thought like that. We are having a lot of emphasis under PMMSY scheme for cage culture and everything. Why can't we have a industrial fishing operation scheme for the deep sea fisheries also under this PMMSY? So that can be mooted, because we are having for cage culture, we are having for mostly for seaweeds, we are having big programs. So why can't we have a specific scheme under PMMSY or something for the deep sea fishery, which comprises the entire value chain of operation, including marketing and product of it. So it's a food for thought for the audience, because I thought that policy makers are here, ministry officials are here, research academicians are here. So why can't we have a specific scheme for deep sea under PMMSY, so that it will address the entire value chain system? So this learned panelists have expressed their opinion. Now I would like to invite specific questions from the audience, or specific suggestions, or you can give your suggestions. And on that aspect, we can have a very brief discussion. Already we are running short of time, but let us have a discussion. And I will start with Alex. Alex is here. You can just, thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Alex Nainen. I'm a seafood processor and exporter, and also president of the Seafood Exporters Association, Kerala region. So I think we all discussed regarding ocean pollution. That's a major factor. Another thing is the climate change. So my question here is, see now, due to climate change and change in ocean temperatures and all, is there migration of our traditional species that is happening? That is question number one. And secondly, now I think fishermen are finding new species, new varieties of when products are coming out. So I think there definitely should be some mapping or some identification of species. What we find as an exporter, what I find is, see, basic issue is, when we export certain species, we follow probably the old scientific names. So and later, when DNA tests are being done in the importing countries, then they find that it's not the same species that has been declared, which they say that then it's a species fraud. So that is also one concern what we are facing. And another issue right now is, juvenile fishing. The unfortunate part is, now each state has got different laws. But I think they're all geared up for, they're all against juvenile fishing. But unfortunately, it's not being implemented uniformly. That is a big concern. So I think we need to address that issue also needs to be addressed. If you look at now, I think last week I had a meeting with the director of CMFRI. So he was saying that there are few species, like the huge resources of a variety of ribbon fish. It's an unedible species. Now, such species, if it can be tapped, and they say there's huge resources for that. Now, if that can be tapped, they can be good for the fish meal factories as well, so that all the juvenile fishing can be stopped, because they have products, and it's a cycle again. All these products can go as a fish meal, they can go for aquaculture. Those things also can happen, and it's good for the fishermen also. So, yeah, and then you have, we talk about deep sea squid also. I think this is some resource which we really need to tap. And I think we need the infrastructure, we need the support from the government to support such fishing activities also. Thank you. That's from my side. One minute.
Yeah, first let me address one thing regarding what Alex has mentioned about 3 points regarding whether the climate change is actually affecting the species migration and other things. So this is also an area of serious concern where now the institutions are looking into that also. So there's, we should have a serious relook on our resources also, whether it is actually what we have done earlier, telling about our oceanic tuna and other things, whether it's actually there or some new species are taking. If the new species are coming up, then what is our strategy for exploiting it? That's very important. Another thing is regarding the issue of juveniles. Okay, being a state subject, fisheries being a state subject, the implementation part rests with the states. Okay, there is not that for any regulation because we have the Mercedes regulation, we have the cordon regulation, everything is there. But if you have to have a effective juvenile, reduction of juvenile, all the states should implement it uniformly. So again, this addresses the entire value chain. It has to be addressed as the entire value chain. Alex is expressing his concern as at the end of the value chain, he's an exporter, but he is also forms a major part in this value chain. So thank you, Alex. Thank you.
Regarding the climate change, definitely it is affecting that coastal fisheries. IPCC recent report, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they have recently published a report. It says that by year 2040, nearly 40% depletion of stocks in the coastal fisheries, because it is going to move from coastal to deeper region. Especially in Kerala coast, if you see, earlier we were catching mackerel in that pelagic water. Now, even in trawler, pelagic, that demersal trawler we are catching, 50 to 100 meter, that's mackerels are catch. These are all that heavily, it is climate change effect only. Then another thing is deep sea squid. It has already been reported in Arabian Sea. We have 1.5 million ton of deep sea squids. It is available, especially the Arabian queen the squids. But we are not at exploited. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Nick.
So good morning. My name is.
Yeah. Please. This will be the last question because we have already run short of time. Yeah, 15 minutes late. Actually, I have to chair the other session also.
So being a fisherman, I have some concern. And my name is Piyush, and I was the ex-president of the Seafood Export Association, Gujarat region. So हम लोग बहुत चिंता करते हैं. We are very worried about the deep sea port, but why sea cod is day by day decreasing? We are not worried. We have to first check why juvenile fish is there. But about the juvenile fish अगर नहीं पकड़ते हैं तो फिशिंग बोट्स की संख्या उसकी कैपेसिटी के हिसाब से भी बहुत हो गई है. गुजरात हैव too much of sea coast, 640 kilometers of sea coast, but we are not utilizing that 1600 kilometers of sea coast. We are not using the water resources we have because our Gujarat exporters are suffering. We are not getting the raw material properly. I am a fisherman. In 2000, my boats go in 3-4 days, it will come. Now, boat will go in 15 days, 20 days. So, we have to worry how to increase the sea cod and what are the ways to stop the boats, the new made and juvenile fish. It's a very important thing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nilesh. This provides an option. I am telling your concerns are genuine. But again, we are thinking about a new option for you. That's the deep sea fishing, actually. You are concerned about juveniles, of course. State has their own regulation policy. But these things, actually, the deep sea fishing policy, the new guidelines, everything will provide a solution for you to opt for the newer resources and to get a better return for the. Ultimately, that matters, to get a better return for your effort. Okay.
Sir, if possible, sea ranching is possible, please do something.
No, these are all the things what we should discuss in other session because we are specifically focusing on deep sea fishing actually. One last, just 1 minute because I have to close this session. Okay.
one of the things that has not come up is that the global experience with distant water fishing is also tied with the dimensions of labor conditions on board, and it's become a big thing. For example, the Pacific longline tuna fishery has some of the worst working conditions, especially of Indonesian migrant worker. Those conditions have been replicated on the deep sea squid fishes of China. So I think the labor and social conditions of work that will accompany the expansion out into the deep sea, I think we need to think about that. And the other is also that we are trying to expand out in a time when we are one of the last nations to expand out. So the experience of China, Japan, Spain, America cannot be replicated. So the geopolitical kind of impacts of that would also be needed to kind of accompany the technical aspects. So if there's time to answer, it'll be great to hear about that. If not, maybe in the future when the policy comes out.
And again, we cannot adopt the models of the foreign countries. We cannot replicate the models. We can refine and according, and also the labor condition, the socio-economic condition. Definitely, this will be taken care because again, this fora we may not be able to address that in a very big way because there are issues regarding processing. Also, the migrant workers issues are all there. Many forums it has been debated. Okay, so but definitely this also should be a concern for this fora, but it has to be a separate session. Anyhow, I think that we can wind up this session because time is already short. Because there are a lot more, I am sure that there are a lot many more issues to be discussed. Madam Joint Secretary is there. And all the government officials and academicians are here. This is just a beginning for a meaningful dialogue and come out with a proposal on deep sea fishing. So thank you all. I thank my co-moderator, Dr. Jayabhaskaran, and the esteemed panelists for this session. I thank the Ministry for providing me an opportunity to be chair in this session. And I thank all the audience who are attended this session. Thank you all. Thank you.
Sir, one moment, sir. Yeah. Thank you, Chair, for a wonderful and a meaningful, fruitful discussions on the deep sea fishing technology, resources, and economics. I would like to extend our sincere thanks to the Chair, as well as the panel discussion moderator for this and all the contributors of this session for this wonderful session. So, as a token of our gratitude, I would like to request our respected Neetu Prasad JS Madam to felicitate this wonderful panel of experts. First to the chair, Dr. George Nainan, sir, Director of ICRCFT Kochi. Second to the panel discussion moderator, Dr. Jayabhaskaran, sir, DGFSI. And to the presenters, I think only Dr. Sanjay Pandey, sir, is here. To Dr. Sanjay Pandey of Department of Fisheries. Then followed by Dr. Anthony Xavier, sir, FDC of Department of Fisheries, Government of India. To Dr. Prashant Kumar Srivastava, sir, Scientist G of MOES. Then to Dr. P. Sinoj, Principal Scientist, ICRC MFRA Kochi. To Dr. M. Hashim, Scientist D, CMLRE Kochi. Thank you very much, madam, and thank you one and all.